Khao Sok National Park is easily the most beautiful place in Thailand. But for years, it's felt like a luxury experience reserved for people willing to spend hundreds of dollars a night. And I've stayed here 6 times before, and I've paid everything from a couple of $100 all the way up to $1,000 for the privilege of staying on the lake. But this time it's different because finally
I figured out how to do it on a budget.
Yes, I found a place where you can stay floating on the lake, inclusive of your accommodation, loads of activities, all your food, all for just $75 US. And honestly, it sounded almost too good to be true. So I've booked it, I've packed my bags, and I've come here to find out whether this is the ultimate budget way to experience Khao Sok, or if the lower price comes at a cost. This is how to do Khao Sok National Park on a budget. Enjoy the video. Okay, so welcome to Khao Sok National Park. It's hidden deep in southern Thailand, halfway between Krabi and Koh Samui, in the province of Suratthani, and it has to be one of the most beautiful places in the country. The park is home to one of the oldest rainforests on Earth, towering limestone cliffs, and the stunning Cheow Lan Lake, which is where you'll find floating resorts that you can sit surrounded by some of the most beautiful scenery on the planet. And it's becoming more popular year after year because it just almost feels untouched by time. And it's easy to see why it draws thousands of visitors each year. But with very limited options to stay on the lake itself, most people only visit for a half-day boat tour. So actually getting to stay overnight on the lake is a magical experience, and hence why it's normally very expensive. Right, so I made my way to the entrance of Khao Sok National Park on my own, and I paid 300 Thai baht for the national park ticket and an extra 40 baht to use the pier to get the boat to the accommodation. This was the only thing not included in the package for my 1-night, 2-day excursion staying on the lake. And I joined 85 other backpackers and guests who were staying at the same place as me, and we all walked down the stairs onto the pier itself, and we got split up and we all boarded 4 separate boats that crossed the lake together to reach our accommodation. They gave us life jackets and there was lots of room to sit, and we had the most incredible views on our 1-hour boat ride across the lake towards our accommodation. It quickly becomes apparent why this place is so famous. It is just so beautiful, and there's no better way to experience it than cruising along the lake on a beautiful boat surrounded by limestone cliffs and jungle all around you. It really is incredible. Most of the other people staying on the lake with me at this accommodation were younger people, ranging from 20 to 35 years old. And most people on the boat were just awestruck, completely speechless, as we went through the landscape of Khao Sok National Park. Even just the transport from the pier to the accommodation is an activity in itself, because honestly, if you've never been to this part of the world, these majestic mountains and the lake and the jungle, it's just a memory that you'll never forget. But I was a little bit nervous to reach the accommodation. Why was it so cheap? How could it be so affordable in comparison to the other places that I've stayed in previous years? And after about 1 hour of cruising along the lake, our accommodation came into view. And as we moored up next to the reception, I was really eager to find out what my room would be like, and how the hell was this so cheap? Okay, so welcome to our accommodation. This place is called Khao Sok Smiley Bungalows, and I booked this online, and I'll put the information in the description below. From what I could count, there were 40 different rooms. Some were air conditioned and were a little bit more expensive, and some were just fan rooms like mine. And then when I checked in, I realized I wasn't going to be sleeping in a private room. There was going to be 2 other people sharing the same place as me. There were 3 mattresses on the floor next to each other. They had 3 towels, 3 pillows, and 3 duvets. And no aircon, just a fan. There was a very simple shower and toilet and sink in the bathroom as well. Now, one thing you should know before booking one of these floating resorts, whether it's a budget or luxury stay, is out here you're pretty much going to be off the grid. There's absolutely no Wi-Fi and very little phone signal, and honestly, that's part of the experience. For a couple of days at least, it's just you, the lake, and the nature. But eventually, when the trip comes to an end and you reconnect to the internet, whether that's at a hotel or an airport or somewhere along the road, you still want to make sure you're staying safe online, and that's why I use NordVPN, the sponsor of today's video. As someone who's constantly traveling around Thailand and around the world, I'm connecting to public Wi-Fi networks all the time, and NordVPN helps encrypt my connection, helping me keep my personal information private and secure wherever I am. It also lets me access websites and apps and streaming services from back home when I'm traveling, and it's a next-gen antivirus with anti-scam, anti-malware, and it helps prevent harmful tracking reaching your device. And if you'd like to try it yourself, you can get an exclusive deal using my link in the description and pinned comment. You'll get NordVPN plus 4 extra months for free, and it's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Just head to nordvpn.com/Paddy Doyle or click the link in the description. Thanks again to NordVPN, and let's get back to life on the lake. There were complimentary kayaks, there was little swimming platforms that were out into the lake, and there was a nice area for you to swim, relax, and soak up the rays. I don't know how much the air-conditioned rooms were. When I booked, it was last minute and they were already taken, but I'll be honest with you, you don't need aircon. We slept with the windows and doors wide open with the fan, and we were fine. In fact, we were a little bit cold, so we did sleep in our duvets, and don't worry, there weren't any mosquitoes or flies coming in the room. Because you're on the lake, you're away from the jungle and all of the insects. So that was the room. Yes, we are sharing, so it's not private, but remember, it's only 2,500 Thai bahts for the accommodation and all your food and activities. Talking of which, let me show you what we had for lunch. They rang the bell out and we all knew it was time to have our first meal, a delicious lunch buffet. Now, as I mentioned, all of the meals are included. Now, it wasn't life-changing, but it was delicious, buffet style, of course, and they had meat, they had veggies, and they had vegan options. And after lunch, we had a downpour, which meant we could just soak up some of the beautiful views in the rain. Khao Sok is actually one of the best places to be in Thailand during rainy season because the rains just make it more fun, more dynamic, and more beautiful and cinematic with the clouds and the rainstorms passing over the lake. Honestly, it is beautiful. A quick mention about the staff and the snacks and drinks available. Everyone was really nice, and obviously if you were still hungry in between meals, you can buy snacks like crisps and chocolate bars and things like that. They also have beers and sodas and water for sale. They have coconuts and fruit shakes as well, which is really good. And so in between meals and activities, you can just relax in your room, swim in the lake, go for a kayak, and just relax and soak up the views. Even if it's raining, it is still absolutely beautiful here. The rains come and go, so when it was sunny, I decided to go for a swim. I'm a solo traveler, so I don't really get to meet that many people, so all of a sudden I had so many people to talk to and meet to, which was a real nice change. And if you have a friend or 2, you can hang out together, you can go out on a kayak together and just soak up the beautiful landscapes. If you're coming to Thailand, you need to put Khao Sok National Park on your bucket list, and honestly, this is one of the cheapest ways to stay on the lake that I've found, and I've been coming to this lake for over 12 years. So after a few hours of free time, they put on one of their first excursions. All of these trips are optional. You don't have to go on them, but they're free and included in your price.
Look at this. Unbelievable.
So I joined around about 20% of the guests who decided to go on a tour to a cave. One of the best things about this tour, however, is the journey to get there, because you have to cross the lake, you have to navigate other areas of the park you haven't seen before, and the views, of course, as standard, were outrageous, so beautiful, so epic. If you have a camera, you'll have to make sure it's fully charged, because every time you go out on a boat or on an activity, you'll just be shooting videos and photos everywhere you look. It really is one of the most magical places on the earth. And after about 45 minutes, we arrived at our location, which was going to be exploring one of the many caves in the national park. Now, there was about a 1 kilometer hike to the entrance of the cave, but even this short hike was gorgeous. We got to see a little bit more of the national park, and for some reason they gave us these helmets, which we all put on during the hike for some reason. It was all a bit weird. Now, I've been to dozens of caves in Thailand on my own, sometimes with a guide, but I've never been into a cave with about 30 or 40 other people. So I'll just let you know that if you've never been into a cave in Thailand before, you will love this experience. You get to see lots of spooky, creepy crawlies, you'll see bats, you'll see all of the interesting formations of the insides of caves and things like that. But if you're like me and you've been to a few caves before, you're not really going to miss much, because this cave is quite small and you just need to spend most of your time waiting for the person in front of you to walk ahead. And most people were scared about getting their shoes wet. Some of them had never been in a cave before, so they were very confused and scared. Some people hated the bats, some people hated the spiders. There was lots of screaming. And yes, it was a bit of a letdown, but that's only because I've been to loads of caves before. And basically, it was fun. I was glad I went on the trip because the boat tour was great, the little hike was fun, and I got to meet and talk to more of the travelers and share stories. But the cave itself, with 30 or 40 other people, was a little bit of a faff. And so by the time we got back to the accommodation, it was time for dinner and the sun had already set. It was another delicious meal, a buffet again, and once we'd all eaten, we played some card games, we had a couple of beers, but it was time for an early night because we were all very excited to get up early for one of the really cool activities, which is like a nature safari at sunrise. Very beautiful, very important that we got an early night because it was going to be an early start the next day.
Good morning, day 2, and what a fantastic time I'm having. Yesterday was so much fun. I was a little bit apprehensive going to bed. Me, a Spanish man, a big English lad, squashed together in a room. I was a bit worried that it was going to be hot, sweaty, snoring, and just not a good night's sleep. But it was far from that. We all went to bed around 9:30, 10 o'clock. We had a few beers last night after dinner, a couple of games of cards, talking about all sorts of things with all sorts of people from all around the world. And then we all got our head down. I woke up at midnight to go to the toilet, and when I got back to bed, I had to put my duvet on. There was that one little fan that wasn't even moving, but we were quite chilly. You know, we had the windows open, we had the doors open. There's no mosquitoes here, so we had a nice breeze coming through, the fan was doing a little bit of work, and we were actually quite cold. So I had to put my little duvet on. And we were woken this morning at 6 o'clock, and as you can see behind me, it's absolutely beautiful. Plan for today, believe it or not, is a 6:30 safari cruise. Optional for anyone, but all included. So I'll switch my camera lens out to my long lens in a minute, because we might be able to see some birds and gibbons and monkeys and all sorts of things.
I was actually quite surprised how few people joined the morning safari. Only about 30 people from the 100 or so staying at the guest house came on the morning tour. Most people just wanted to stay in bed and relax and enjoy the morning from their room. Nothing wrong with that, but at this time of the day in the morning, the wildlife are the most active. They come out of the jungles down to the lake to swim, to feed, to drink. And honestly, if you're staying on the lake overnight, this is one of the best things you can do, so don't miss it. We saw eagles, we saw loads of birds, we saw beautiful hornbills soaring across the jungle. We saw this rare species of buffalo, not quite sure what it was called, but yeah, absolutely amazing. We saw this cute family of otters coming out of the water after feeding and playing in the morning. It was beautiful. We saw gibbons, we saw monkeys, we saw so many things. It was awesome. But by far the best thing is just floating quietly. The engine is very low or turned off most of the time, and you sit there and you listen to the gibbons calling, the birds chirping, and the morning light at this time of day. It's just magical. It only lasts an hour and a half, and it's worth every second. And it's included in the price, so honestly, definitely get up early, 6 o'clock, go on the morning safari, and when you get back, it's time for breakfast. I had some scrambled eggs on toast and another couple of coffees, and most of the other backpackers were also up, reading books, chilling out outside their room, or going for a morning swim or a kayak as usual. And then around 9:30 in the morning, after we'd packed our bags and checked out of the rooms, it was time for another activity. Honestly, I cannot believe how many activities they put on for the price. This time most people joined, and we headed out to find a waterfall. We had another 30 or 45-minute journey through the lake. It was incredible. We saw more hornbills, more wildlife, and just more epic views, because this time we were heading north into a different part of the national park. And once again, the journey to the waterfall was probably one of the highlights of the whole trip, because just being on the lake, surrounded by this landscape, it is truly unbelievable, honestly. And eventually we landed here at the waterfall. I was very surprised to see this waterfall just flowing into the lake itself. I've never been to this waterfall or explored it or even heard about it, so I was really excited to see something new and explore a part of the park I'd never done so before. What was really cool and unique was this waterfall had about 1,000 levels. It just went up into the jungle slowly, like a staircase. Each level of the waterfall has like a calcium deposit on the rocks, so it's actually quite sticky. It's not slippy at all. So actually, just as long as you've got decent footwear, my trainers were fine. You can scale and climb and walk up the waterfall level by level, going up it and further into the jungle. It was honestly magical.
This is so cool. Incredible.
And unlike the cave where we were stuck in a line, me and a few of the guys just ran ahead, got ahead of the tour guides, and just went up and explored on our own. We knew all we had to do was stay on the waterfall, keep going up and keep taking pictures and videos, and we were having so much fun. I saw a couple of giant spiders, I saw a tarantula, I saw a snake. I didn't get much on camera, but honestly, it was just so awesome.
This is probably the best thing I've ever done on Khao Sok as an activity. Like, we're just walking and hiking up this waterfall. It's not slippy, it's got that sticky texture, and like it's like proper in the middle of the jungle. I'm like, this is my happy place right here.
Definitely do the morning safari and definitely do the waterfall activity. Just make sure you bring good shoes and be prepared. You'll get soaking wet. Everything will get wet. Your camera, your phone, everything. So just bear that in mind. Even on the way back from the waterfall, they took us to a few of the landmarks and a few photo opportunities, some of the more famous, popular areas of the park. And again, that was all on the way back from the waterfall. We then had about 1 more hour to hang out at the accommodation. We had lunch, again, another meal, and then it was time to get on the boats and go all the way back to the pier. And our time at Khao Sok National Park was officially over. 1 night on the lake, all of your food, breakfast, lunches, dinners, all of those amazing activities and boat tours and safaris, waterfalls and cave explorations, all for 2,500 baht, plus the national park fee, plus the pier fee, and a couple of beers and drinks on top. This is how much money I spent all together. And if you're on a budget backpacking around Thailand, This is something you can splurge on. This is your opportunity to break your budget, take photos, make memories, and while everyone else is getting drunk on the islands, having fun for sure, you'll be out here doing something different, getting to see a different part of the country and experience a landscape like no other. If you want to visit Khao Sok National Park like this or take your travel buddies with you, share this video with them and hopefully it will convince them to join you. I'll leave the information in the description to book the same place that I did, the same package. Prices might go up a little bit if you need aircon, but in my opinion, you don't need it. But if you'd like to spend a little bit more money and stay in a private luxury floating accommodation, I'll also link a few videos in the description because like I said, I've made content on the lake at different hotels and resorts in the past as well. So you can compare and contrast the luxury versus budget accommodation. Next week, I'll be back on the mainland exploring on my motorbike in some of the hidden areas of the country, and I can't wait to see you there. And if you'd like to watch the next episode, click here right now or click down here to watch one of the videos of me staying at a luxury accommodation on the lake. I'll see you soon.